Welcome. It's April 13th, 2021. I'm Joe Weston, and we're here with our weekly online global practice for reviving the global heart. And there's a lot I want to speak about today. So if my energy is a bit high, then you know that that's what's going on. And we also want to try something, try a little experiment. And there's a lot going on in the world right now that I want to make sure to connect to and reference in the context of what we're doing. But before we get to that, Todd wants to do an experiment. We want to try something where I'd like you to just think for a moment, since so far everyone here, or most of you have been here for a while. When you think of our highest human values, I speak about that a lot. You've probably heard me say that. It just rolls off my tongue. Now it's just so normal, our highest human values. We never really took the time to think about that. So I want you to think for a moment. If you were to say, like, what's your number one human value, not what your personal values might be, but one that's universal to all human beings, our highest values, the ones that would bring, if we were all resonating from them and functioning from them, we would be on a very different planet. As we talk about this, we would not only be technologically well fed, but we'd also be spiritually well fed. So think about one, two, or three words. And if you wouldn't mind just putting that in the chat, Todd's going to play with that and we'll come back to that at the end of our session. And I'll keep mentioning it for new people who show up. So what are the top, what would you say your top highest human values? That when we're functioning from that place, we're at our best, and we're functioning from a place of kindness and civility. Those might be your words, but to just think about that. Thank you for just keep adding those words. Todd's going to play with them as I continue. So there's a lot happening in the world at the moment. There's a lot happening in this country, in the United States of America at the moment. And I've got a couple of things I want to say, but the talk I want to do in the context of the 8 ailments and 8 remedies kind of aligns with that in a way. We've been discussing the 8 ailments of the global heart that's not well. Basically, that's what this whole talk is to see the whole human family as one global heart. And just like the physical heart, if it's not well nourished with proper nourishment, it's going to get ill. It's going to start devolving. It's not going to function well. It's going to get the arteries harden. It's harder it slows down the function. There's more tightening and hardening that's happening, which can cause heart attack and various other things, and taxes the system. And at the same time is being worked even harder and harder, in a sense, the human family. So the heart's being worked harder, and it's not being fed with the nutrients that can help revive it and bring it vitality, in a sense. And so what I'm positing in this is that we're seeing this play out in our world systems of inequity, systems of a lack of civility, systems of oppression, and we're seeing a breakdown in how we're communicating with each other. That's always been the work of respectful confrontation, fierce civility, of reviving the global heart, and why I think many of you continually show up for this practice is how do we start addressing this? And the 8 ailments, in a sense, are the symptoms of that. And we've done already the first 7. I don't know if Todd or you have time to actually type that in, but before we do that, because in a sense, if the global heart is not well, we're all suffering from that on some level. We all have the symptoms of that. And because we all have the symptoms of that, we're in some way contributing to the perpetuation of the stagnation of what's unfolding. And as you know, as I always say, the polarization has gotten out of control because of the ailments. And that in this way, polarization is getting locked in. There's a gridlock, which is a hardening. And that all the work we do is about pivot and softening and opening our own hearts and finding a way to soften our own viewpoints and soften our hearts and regulate our nervous system so we could cultivate more fierce compassion and resilience and nervous system regulation. And yet when you look at it this way, how are we all suffering from these symptoms or these eight ailments? And it doesn't mean that we are consciously doing it. It doesn't mean we're bad because we have them. Just like if you get cancer, you're not bad for having cancer, you just have cancer. And then, yes, that's they just have cancer, but it's something that you're suffering from. It doesn't make you a bad person. So in these ailments, before we get to the remedies, we are all, in a sense, struggling with these symptoms of this global heart that's not well. And it doesn't mean we're bad. It simply means we're out of alignment. And by bringing awareness to what the symptoms are and then coming up with remedies, we can shake ourselves out of it. That's the pivot. And we can be vital forces if we've done our work to strengthen the global heart by bringing the softness and breaking the gridlock, breaking the hardness. So I want to set that context and in a sense, how are we contributing to this is an important question. Again, that doesn't make us bad. It's just how, and it can be our inactivity. And I've said this before, that what we're finding is that what causes the stagnation is in these times of struggle, uncertainty, is we're all locked into a fight, flight, freeze response. And that we're seeing that play out, that there are people who are in the fight response. It's like, I want to fight the system. I want to tear down the system. I want to make sure what I believe to be true. And what you believe to be true may be the way things need to go, but fighting it might not be the best solution and may be contributing to the polarization. Or you might have a flight response where you are hoping to go back to a time when things were different. Or you're just checked out, or you're saying, I don't need to vote, my vote doesn't count. Or you're just fine, so that you're escaping from the situation. And then there's the freeze response, which I believe most of us are in, where we just don't know what to do. And where we, on some level, stick our head in the sand and just pray that it'll be different. And there's no good and bad in this. It's just, how are we contributing to this? And you hear from many, Albert Einstein said that, that's, we'll look back at times and not only look at the people who have committed the offenses, but also look at the people who watched while the offenses were happening. And I bring this up because it's my dilemma, and it might be more people's dilemma, that we're seeing that how can it be in the United States of America right now, we're in the middle of a trial of a hideous crime that a policeman did to another man that happened last May. And we're seeing it all play out. And in this same week, we're seeing the same thing happening where young people are being murdered or singled out and oppressed. And abused in a sense. And the question is, how could that possibly be? But it is, and it has to do, so I'm in this interesting discussion with Todd, and what is it about us that we can't find our way in, right? So you have the image of the Rams that are pushing against each other, but he likes the image of linemen in American football, where these are really big guys and their only intention is to push against each other. And they spend the whole game pushing against each other. They don't get anywhere, but their function is to just make sure that if they're taking care of this here, that the quarterback can find his way around and score points or goal, right? But that's my quick thing of American football. And that's kind of what's happening, is that the system is set up that we're all butting heads. And while we're doing this, we're allowing these systems to find their way in to get what they want. And part of the remedies is to break us out of this conditional patterning so that we can be more present and actually see what's unfolding and maybe make some different choices. And I bring this up from the perspective last week, we talked about the remedy of self-righteousness. That it's not a question of, thank you, Tia, for mentioning the name Dante Wright. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's not, in this idea, the remedy is what I accuse you of, I have thought, spoke, or done myself. And it's not that you give permission for them to do what they're doing, to say, okay, you can do what you want. And it's also not to make yourself seem that you have to put yourself down. It's simply recognizing that your level of self-righteousness or righteous indignation about it isn't solving the problem. Imagine a situation, for instance, where a group of friends meet. Remember when you could meet for lunch out in restaurants or something? Just imagine way back in the past that a group of friends meet every week for lunch, and one of the women comes with a bruised face. And everyone sees it and no one talks about it. Next week, they come back, she's got new bruises on her face. Everyone sees it, doesn't do anything about it. Next week, she comes with more bruises, and people start spending the entire lunch complaining. It turns out that her partner is beating her, and that the entire lunch is devoted to them in their indignation about how terrible it is what she's going through and how terrible it is what that man is. No one's doing anything about it. They're walking away feeling satisfied that just complaining about it is enough. And I might be really stretching it, but to be thinking about how often that's what that remedy is to get over the constant, I can't believe this is happening, and to just recognize this is happening, and what am I going to do about it? And I bring this in from the perspective of why isn't more being done? And I get that we're trying. And what I want to bring in is that part of that has to do with greed. That why isn't things being done is all of the ailments. We're our inner storm. We're so distracted and in a way we can't get clear and focused enough to find what our steps can be. We're suffering from a paralysis where we just feel, why bother? I wouldn't even know what to do, right? These are the answers to the question, why isn't more being done? Because of the ailments that we're suffering from or struggling with. There's a fear of what if I were to step out? There's a sense of separation. Maybe that's not my problem. Could be an answer to that. I've got my own problems. A sense of isolation, that I don't know the resources or ways that I can connect to make a difference. There's the arrogance of saying, well, the way I see it is this way, and if you don't see it that way, then I'm not interested in engaging with you, so we can get in that game. And like, as I said, there's a self-righteousness that is to complain about how horrible it is, but not necessarily doing something about it. I think the first step in that is to say that let's let go of the vocabulary of good and bad, and let's replace it with harmful or beneficial. Because just judging something isn't going to solve the problem. But if you stop and say, the issues that are happening, is it being harmful? If the answer is yes, then okay, then you take action to eliminate the harm. If it's beneficial, you step into it. So that's one way. And with greed, I think that for many of us, greed is so deep, and I'm just going to touch on it a little bit from the perspective of how I've just set this up, that there are people out there are corporations out there, there are leaders out there are individuals out there that really come from a place of greed to have as much as they can have. And that is contributing to the global heart that is not well. But on a smaller level, in our freeze state, how many of us are allowing things to happen because on some very small level, we're frightened that it might affect us? And again, this isn't good or bad, it's simply an awareness. How many of us are making decisions on who we vote for that we might say that politician isn't necessarily who I would vote for because of their views on social issues, but they're going to protect my 401k. Or I'm more concerned at this moment with to make sure that I have enough money in the bank account, or that my mortgage payments don't go up. On some level, that's a level set. I would say that that's a certain level of greed. This need to protect my own. And it's not good or bad. It simply is it serving, and it's just trying to get to the root causes of why people are sitting and watching this happen and not being able to engage. Why are we watching that? It's millions of people in refugee camps in Syria For years now, children are growing up in refugee camps. That's their life. And yes, there's a lot of work to go on that's going to help that create better conditions in those camps, but no one's addressing the issues around why people are in refugee camps. And I'm speaking next week in a keynote for this freshwater summit, and I'm speaking to a lot of people involved with that, environmental lawyers and advocates. And the question is, why aren't people getting more involved with these issues and finding ways that that they can? And a lot of it has to do with, I'm going to protect mine. And this is what I bring up in terms of greed. And that it's a freeze response. It's a fear response. It's a response coming from this idea of resources are limited. So if they're limited, then I have to make sure I have enough. And that's a false idea. It's a false idea that we're separate. It's a false idea that there isn't enough for all of us on this planet. Mother Earth can provide for all of us. The question isn't that I believe that there's not enough resources. The question is, the issue is how they're being distributed. And that's all mental construct. The fact that there are enough resources for everyone is reality. It's mental constructs that create systems that makes it difficult for some people to not have access at all, and for other people to gorge and overindulge and hoard. And it starts from this idea of, so the remedy is, and I'll say more, is that in this idea of greed is to say, I recognize that there is enough for everyone. I feel a strong desire to share. I recognize that there is enough for everyone. I feel a strong desire. Oh, I recognize that I have enough and there is enough for everyone. Sorry, let's do that again. I recognize that I have enough and there is enough for everyone. I feel a strong desire to share. Why is that important? Because all other creatures on this planet, remember we did where we showed like the number of human beings, the number of fish and insects, and we was like, wow, in our arrogance of how important we think we are. I might be wrong, but I would say that all other creatures function from a place of, I only take what I need. I get through a day to make sure that I survive and my babies survive and my little group survives. All other creatures. If you think of bees, for instance, they create one hive. There's like thousands of them. They're like crammed in there. They don't have like mansion hives. They just have just exactly what they need to function. And when they're done with that hive, they move on and create another hive. They don't have like their main hive, and then they have like a pied-à-terre hive that they had bought somewhere in the urban environment, and then a summer hive that they have. They don't have like 7 means of transportation to get them from one thing to another. That might be what they want. Human beings are functioning. This is the greed part, is we function from, I take what I want instead of I take what I need. And on a deeper level, I'm not taking, I am being offered something from a system which is this planet that has always provided for me and my ancestors for millions of years. So it's a false notion that we own anything. Everything we have is in a sense being borrowed from the planet itself. So imagine the rewiring in this is that I recognize that I have enough for what I need. And if I don't, then of course I want to advocate for more. And if there are systems, and if I have enough, and there is enough for everyone, then I feel a strong desire to share. I also feel a strong desire to be part of a movement that creates the systems that allows everyone to have access to resources, power, and information. What a way to live your life. What a way to be in the world. So it's this idea of what does sharing mean? So anybody, and we all do it, right? A bank account goes against natural force. natural laws and natural sensations, because you're holding on to something. What if resources were always whatever comes in, you're giving out? Whatever's coming out is going to come back. I don't know if that's completely true, but it's something to think about. But this notion of, and so this idea of I'm not taking, but I'm borrowing from what is available, meaning that I give it back as well. And I don't take, and I don't give, I share. That in a sense, just to play the mind game, like every time you go to the supermarket, you're not giving them $85 for what, 4 items these days? You're sharing that back into the system in a sense. So it's just a rewiring of letting go of the need to hold on to this, to resources, and to be able to monitor within yourself that sense of, what do I need? Are those needs being met? Anything above that is a gift. It's a gift that I can share. It's a gift that I can take and develop skills and get more knowledge so that I can transform that gift that I have into more capacity within myself to be of service, which is sharing. So I wove that all into all of this when we're talking about Lieutenant Caron Nazario and Dante Wright, who this week were harassed or killed by police officers. And I'm not saying that's good or bad or right or wrong. I'm just saying that there's this whole purpose of this reviving the global heart practice is for us to see the disconnect, that we sit and watch this happen. And what are the ailments are for each of us, what's holding us back from stepping into a deeper level. So that was a lot. I'd like to lead us in our practice now. And you may have some reflections on this. I would love to hear that. So if we can find a way to sitting in a way where your spine is straight. It's also a lengthening from the back of your neck. So you're tucking in your chin a little bit. Shoulders are relaxed, jaws relaxed, belly's relaxed. Bring coming in awareness to your core, your center. Place of personal power, impulse, awareness. From your center, becoming aware of your contact points, the parts of your body that are connecting to what you're sitting on the floor. Allowing yourself to be held from those points, feeling the trust in the ground and what you're sitting on to support you, to hold you. From your center, become aware of your physical body. And in the spirit of, I recognize that I have enough and there is enough for everyone, just a gratitude of, what if my physical body, what if this is enough? What if this is all I ever needed? And what a blessing. To have 2 legs, if you have 2 legs. To have 10 fingers, if you have 10 fingers. What a blessing. To have eyes to see. What a blessing. And from your center, becoming aware of your emotions. And a blessing for the richness of your emotions, your emotional self. From your center, become aware of your thoughts. And what a blessing to have the capacity for self-awareness, for cognition, relative mental health. Capacity to do, the capacity to feel, the capacity to think, formulate ideas, come up with brilliant strategies. From your center, now bringing awareness to your heart or the middle of your chest, where your heart power resides, compassion, connection, your highest values, our human highest values. From your center and from your heart, becoming aware of the part of you that connects with something larger than yourself. And in this moment, checking in, how connected do you feel at this moment to something larger than yourself? And again, what a blessing, what a richness. Could be spiritual, could be humanity, the planet itself. What a gift. See if there's any part of you in this, with your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, your spiritual body, that simply can rest in this idea of I am enough. And with more of an awareness of yourself in this present moment, and all the abundance that you have on all levels, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And building on this sense of I am enough and the abundance within yourself, bringing your awareness from your center and your heart, keeping your eyes closed to your surroundings. Where do you find yourself at this moment? Listening to sounds, smells, temperature, objects in all directions. Doing an inventory of how much you have at this moment. For instance, oxygen. What a gift. An atmosphere that stays within a certain amount of degrees so that we don't fry or we don't freeze. What a gift. Objects. What a blessing. And with more of an awareness of yourself and your surroundings, take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. With this awareness within yourself and within your surroundings, from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those in this meditation circle. Opening to this awareness of people you're gathering with on a weekly basis, or some of you coming for the first time. Knowing that there are others in the world who resonate with similar values and beliefs and intentions and hearts as yours. What a gift. So from your center and from your heart, connecting with those in this meditation circle throughout Europe, North America, other parts of the world. Those you know who share similar values who aren't with us in this particular call. Your teachers, your ancestors. What a gift. With more of an awareness of yourself, your surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. So taking the abundance and the blessings of yourself, your surroundings, and those in this meditation circle with you, as you now, from your center and from your heart, become aware of all human beings beginning with those human beings you would label loved ones. And just resonate from your personal power in your heart with them. Who arises? Connecting with them. The gratitude that they've come into your life, all the gifts that they've brought to you, all the ways that you've supported them. And from your heart communicating to them, I recognize that I have enough and there is enough for everyone. I feel a strong desire to share. And watch them receive that message in their hearts. And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings you would label stranger. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? How many do you see? Connecting with them. From your heart, communicating to them in a way that they receive it. I recognize that I have enough and that there is enough for everyone. I feel a strong desire to share. And watch them receive that message in their hearts. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. From your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings that you would label adversary. Who arises in your heart? Who do you see? And as you engage with them, from your heart communicating to them, I recognize that I have enough and that there is enough for everyone. I feel a strong desire to share. Perhaps you watch them receive that message as well. Now imagine all human beings as one, communicating with the earth itself, in relationship with the earth itself. From your center and from your heart. And every human being saying in unison from their hearts, I recognize to the earth itself, I recognize that I have enough and that there is enough for everyone. I feel a strong desire to share. And however that might be, watch the earth itself receive that message. Taking the earth into your heart, taking all human beings into your heart, noticing the effects of this practice up to this moment. How is your heart? And with all human beings in your heart, now bringing your awareness back to those in this meditation circle. Sharing the gifts of what you've discovered or experienced with all human beings and the planet itself with those in this meditation circle. Taking those in this meditation circle into your heart as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Sharing all of this, what's in your heart, with your surroundings. Taking your surroundings into your heart, and from your center, your personal power and your heart, connecting you with yourself in a new way. And allowing all the gifts from Mother Earth, from all human beings, from those in this meditation circle, and from your surroundings. Let yourself receive that all. In your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, your spiritual body. checking in with your, noticing the effects of this practice, taking that into all of your cells, nourishing all of your cells, feeding and nourishing your organs, vitality and life, letting it seep into your nervous system, the sense of connection, I am enough, abundance. Igniting your heart, letting this fill your battery, your core. And as a way to close this practice, let's take one final breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Slowly open your eyes, stretch your body, shake your body, look around the room. Remember an object that you forgot you had and say, wow, I'm so grateful I have that. I forgot I had that. Do I really need it? Maybe I can share that with someone. Anyway, so we started with quite a long motivation. We did our practice. Now I'm wondering if anybody would like to reflect on what I spoke about, or what came up in the practice.
I kept thinking of how when my children were young, that, you know, there was, with all young children, there is sort of, this is mine, and always trying to teach them to share, and that there was abundance. But it's curious to me that there's sort of that early instinctual, natural sort of clinging to what's mine, and sort of the fear of loss. I'm not sure where my mind is going around that, but I just am remembering that with children at the playground, and, you know, that it was a sort of that chronic struggle of teaching people to share. And so it sounds like a very young aspect of our culture or society, you know, that doesn't recognize how much we have, how abundant things are.
I don't know enough about child psychology to talk about that, but I wonder if it's, you know, at what age does that happen? Does it happen at birth? Does it happen, when does that happen?
It's like 3, 4, 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because they're growing up in an environment that has that as a template, because I'm sure there are other cultures that don't have that.
I have found, and I'm not and there have been studies done, extensive studies, but I found in going around the world, connecting with different cultures, that the cultures that had the least were the most generous. And that was standard. It wasn't just a few, it was just standard. But thank you, Tia. I think it's an interesting, it's habit.
Joe, I'm thinking more is less.
What do you mean by that?
Just echoing what you just said. Abundance can dominate rather than focus. With less, there's much more focus.
Yeah. Yeah. and I bring that, whatever, this is your own contemplation, right? So I offer this remedy, and that might be your remedy, right? So the idea is to just keep doing these statements and contemplating them and seeing what it triggers. Hopefully this triggered you. I mean, they're all supposed to trigger you. That's what medicine does. It's supposed to trigger patterns. So it brings you back to wellness, or brings you back to sharpness, or a new perspective. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and it came to me that it's also a question of trust, trusting that there will be enough for you.
Yeah.
And not acting from fear.
Yeah.
Oh, I won't have enough.
Yeah, and there's compassion in this, right? It's not like now you give away all your stuff. It's not like now you share everything. You have to use wisdom, but there's also compassion. That's the remedy part, right? You're healing the parts of you that believe that there's not enough. That's all. If you heal the parts of you that believe there's not enough, then there will always be enough. Instead of trying to get more, just heal the parts of you that think that there's not enough. Then you'll always have enough. Not saying I've mastered it, believe me, I haven't mastered it, but it's a way of looking at it. Dominique, thank you for being here. Thank you. And Jill, thank you, says this connected some dots for me in my internal map of minimizing and the role of physical items. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jill. So we only have a couple of minutes, and I'd like to see what we came up with our experiment. So we asked you at the beginning to share with us in the chat what you think are the highest human values. And Todd has created something that he wants to show us. This is what we believe. This is our wordscape. If you might want to just unmute real quick and just say quick words what you think of this, just what your reaction is.
It's great.
Yes, it's very nice.
Yeah, kind of says it all.
Yeah. So this was the kind of like the accumulation of all the words that you said. And I believe that the ones that are, the larger the words are, the more they were repeated by you.
Mhm.
Yes. Love was mentioned six times. That's why love is large in the middle.
I love the fact that at the very tip of the heart at the bottom is sharing truth. And it looks like it's funneling, like it's pointing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Pat is 18 years.
Beautiful.
Thanks for creating it.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. Thank you. Let's hold that image. That's what we're doing here. We're creating hearts like that. We're filling it with our highest human values. So let's do our dedication. Before that, just to let you know, so a week from tomorrow, we already had the link to the Freshwater Summit. It is a keynote at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It would be really sweet if you can join in. And to more parts, if you sign up for that that session, you actually can go to the entire conference, and there's also documentary films you can watch. So, and it's all free. So tell people, tell your circles about it. Please tell as many people as possible. It'd be nice for you to be there to support me as well. Just have our community there as we reveal more of what fierce civility is. We have this weekend workshop coming up at the end of the month, April 30th, May 1st and 2nd on respectful confrontation. If you haven't done it, I recommend doing it. It's really it's not only a lot of heart opening, it gives you some really concrete skills to move forward with challenges. Todd, the question is, what's the YouTube? And as always, if you want to make a donation, if this meant something to you, to share what you have, having enough. If you have extra you might want to share, please feel free to. And let's do our dedication. So I'd like to dedicate this to systems that recognize more that that how we're distributing our resources is not benefiting anybody in the end. in the long term. And then may these systems shift, and more insight come from those who create these systems. To the family of Dante Wright, George Floyd, and all those who are suffering at the moment from systems that are making it more challenging for them to claim that they have enough. And in the spirit of this particular ailment, may all beings on this planet have enough fresh water to drink and food to eat. And may all governments and leaders recognize this, shift their perspectives, let go of fear and greed. So thank you very much. Once again, I'm going to say, if you know people who would be interested in joining us on this in this meditation, please let them know and invite them. If you have questions for us or comments or things come up, you can always get in touch